right from the 1960s, when Nigeria got its independence, the first coup, corruption was mentioned.
As in, how can the people now contribute in this fight against corruption?
When you look at it, fighting of corruption is not one man business. It's a teamwork. If we can come together and fight corruption, we can bury everything overnight.
As a citizen of Nigeria,
what can be done to make the society better? As a woman here, as a mother.
The society doesn't want to give these women opportunities because they think these women can come and dominate the role men play in the society.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the program, The Advocate. My name is Jack Vincent Fidelis and I'm your host. On the program, as usual, we deliberate on issues of anti-corruption and accountability in governance. To discuss this, I have Honorable Lanre Obadiah. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jack. It's a pleasure being here.
Sir, corruption in Nigeria is believed to have originated from the civil service. I want to know what your take is on this assertion.
I think that is rather preposterous. I will not even agree that corruption started from the civil service. The Nigerian civil service at the beginning was a very glorious civil service. If you look at the civil service that we had in the colonial era, and even immediately after the post-colonial era, our civil service was one that was very well grounded in accountability, discipline, focus, and commitment. The civil servants followed the rules, the civil service rules and regulations without bending corners, without cutting corners. Unfortunately, that civil service that was bequeathed to Nigeria, which was a civil service that was developmental oriented, and a civil service that was not only accountable, but was also well trained. That civil service was bastardized actually by the military in 1976.
I heard that it was actually the civil servants who taught the military how to be corrupt. That the military weren't corrupt when they came in. That it was the civil service. Maybe you want to correct that impression.
I think it isn't that way, actually. What actually happened, the Nigerian civil service, like I said, was a very accountable civil service. Then when the government of Murtala Muhammad, of blessed memory, came in 1976, it did something that made the civil service to become a trauma-based civil service. All of a sudden, the entire civil service was almost collapsing. And why? People were sacked over the radio. Security of tenure was no longer guaranteed. You went to the office today, you go back home, and the next thing you hear over the 4 o'clock news is that you have been sacked, dismissed, without knowing what you did. In the civil service, you do not discipline somebody without following procedures. Before you dismiss a civil servant, there must have been the first query, the second query, the third query. From there, you move on to suspension or interdiction before you now find him guilty. And it is only through the Civil Service Commission for the mainstream civil servants. And of course, those in the boards and parasites have their establishment committees that undo issues of discipline. But when Murtala came, because of a mindset that the civil service was not strongly what they wanted, they disjointed the civil service. And because the civil servants now realized that the security of their tenure was no longer guaranteed, then they began to pilfer in the system. Before in the civil service, you are guaranteed 35 years of service. You know that once you retire, your pension and your gratuities are guaranteed. You did not have any reason to steal. But after 1976, the Nigerian civil service had to start looking for other ways to make ends meet and to prepare themselves for the raining day, because nobody was sure any longer whether they were going to reach the mark of 35 years in service or whether they were going to be dispensed with, which is something the civil servant was not used to. And that was when corruption actually came into the system.
So with this knowledge, which you have, which I'm sure other people in the system have, what is the best way to combat this anomaly? There's need for it.
Sure, there is. But it's a very simple thing.
Since 1976, nothing seems to have been done.
Exactly.
So
in fact, it is getting
really
worse. It's getting worse.
Okay.
It became worse even with the coming in of politics. Because the politicians seem to have a mindset totally different from the mindset of the civil servants. The civil servants are supposed to be the drivers of policy. They execute the policies which the political leadership brings. But all of a sudden, the political class began to encroach into what was the responsibility of civil servants, running government through committees, running government by appointment, relying on ascribed characteristics and no longer allowing meritocracy to work. And because of that, a lot of problems crept into the civil service. So, in fact, the corruption became worse. Instead of the mistake of 1976 to be corrected, Babangida came in 1988 and compounded it with what we call his Decree 12, which actually made the civil service to become the worst of what he made. And from then on, you discover that the civil servants, and of course, we need also to understand one thing. You cannot take the civil service in isolation. A civil servant is a child of the society. Whatever he does is from what he also imbibes as a member of the society. And the Nigerian society has become a society where our virtues, our morals, ethics have broken down. In the days when we entered the civil service, I joined the civil service in 1982 after my NYSC. If you are given a loan, a car loan, which was only about 3,600 naira for a graduate, the only car you could buy was either a Volkswagen B2 or a Toyota Panel van. If you went and bought a Peugeot car, which was about 5,400 naira then, definitely you were going to get a query. You must explain where you got the additional money. Those were the days when the society itself was holding people to account. But what happens now? The society is so corrupted, is so bad that somebody who does not even have any physical source of livelihood could come with a car worth 12 million naira today. Nobody asking where did you get the money. All they say is he has arrived.
That is the language.
Good. If you want to query, you want to find out where he got the money, they'll say what is troubling is bad belly, baking chicken,
Yeah.
Now, the civil servant is a child of the society. You do not expect him to have morals or to live outside what a society is. The society is corrupted. Corruption is in every form. When people blame the leaders, allow even the followers, bring them into power and see. There's an adage that says, you never know how bad a man is until you give him, he has money. A man that you think is very humble, is very well behaved, he has ethics and everything, give him money. That is when, or power. That is when you really know
his true character will come out.
So, the civil service is actually a reflection of the society that we have today.
Wow.
Nigerian society has actually broken down. Corruption is everywhere. Corruption is not just at the top. Corruption is everywhere, right from the least of the stages. So because our society has not been properly reoriented, the civil servants have also imbibed corruption.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Well, the program is The Advocate, a program designed to deliberate on issues of anti-corruption and issues of accountability in governance. My guest is Honorable Lanre Obadiah. He is a veteran, and then he has been doing marvelously well. I'm quite impressed. I feel I could go on listening to you on and on and on again. You see, on a weekly basis, I bring people here to this program to discuss these issues of corruption, the issues of the society, and all that. It is a recurrent situation. We've been discussing this thing for a very long time, and it seems as if the problem is not ending anytime soon. And I want to believe it is because the people in government are not doing the needful to ensure that this anomaly goes away. That in Nigeria we read about in history, that in Nigeria you spoke beautifully about in those days, would come back. Do you see Nigeria coming back to these good old days?
I do not want to be a doomsday prophet or to sound so pessimistic.
I understand that.
But it's very difficult for Nigeria to really go back to those days. Because Nigeria has become so bad, so rotten, that you need something to really shock the system, to change it. What we actually need is a total change from inside out. If you look at the situation in the country today, insecurity everywhere. What is causing insecurity? Corruption.
Yeah.
Because everybody is running after material acquisition. Everybody wants to ride the latest cars. Everybody wants to live in the most beautiful of homes. Everybody wants to wear designer dresses. So many things. Without even wanting, where is the dignity of labor that we used to cherish? The dignity of labor seems not to be there now. It is not how much you work that determines what you get. It's either how lucky you are or how best you could cut corners. For Nigeria to be able to go back to where we are, at least if we are not going to improve and progress, let us even be able to go back to where we were before, when everybody was content. When after work you could sit in the front of the house, relax. You don't have money, but you're happy and contented. Nigeria needs a total social re-engineering. And it is not going to start from one sector alone. I'm afraid I'm not going to call for a revolution. But, God forbid, we might just be heading towards there. People are angry in this nation. And people are so much in a hurry.
Thank you very much, sir. The program is The Advocate. I've been having a wonderful time with my guests. I hope you have been as well. If you don't go away, when we return from our break, we'll continue with the discussion.
Right from the 1960s, when Nigeria got its independence, the first coup, corruption was mentioned.
As in, how can the people now contribute in this fight against corruption?
When you look at it, fighting of corruption is not one man business. It's a teamwork. It's a teamwork. If we can come together and fight corruption, we can bury everything overnight.
As a citizen of Nigeria,
What can be done to make the society better? You know, as a woman here, you know, as a mother.
The society doesn't want to give these women opportunities because they think these women can come and dominate the role men play in the society.
You are welcome back. I am with Honorable Lanre Obadiah, who has been doing justice to the topic. Sir, I am going to quickly say, what would be your advice to government? Your advice to government on the welfare of the civil servants. Because like you pointed out earlier, things were rosy in those days, and people had no need to soil their hands. So today, is there anything the government can do, government at all levels, to ensure the welfare of the civil servants is adequately taken care of?
Of course. You see, they say a workman deserves his wages. And even in religion, it says you do not even allow the sweat of the laborer to dry before you pay him his due wages. The major problem we have in Nigeria, and that is the basis, the real cankerworm that is eating deep into the fabric of this nation, is because we no longer take seriously the entitlement of workers, both working and retired. We've heard of states in this country where workers go for more than 30 months without salaries. We've had situations of pensioners who have worked, putting 35 productive years of their life into serving government, and after they are retired, they cannot even access their pension for 2 years. We've seen situations where gratuity, which is the last big payday every worker looks forward to. Because when you are planning to go on retirement, you know you have a bumper, a gratuity, which you can deploy into starting something else and move on with your life. People work, and for 8 years after retirement, 6, 7, 5, 4, they don't get this gratuity. It's all over the federation. Because of that, those who are in service, they see these things. They see the terrible situation where pensioners, some of them are rolled in trolleys, so sick and frail they can't even move to go and look for their pittance. Therefore, that sends a message to those who are serving that if I'm going to become like this when I retire, the best thing for me to do is to begin to build my retirement benefits from now by cutting corners. Now, what should government do? It is a very simple thing. A civil servant, in most instances, does not ask for much. All he asks for is his entitlement. Pay him his salaries as and when due. Give him his annual leave grant when he is due. The little allowances he is entitled to, pay them to him. Provide work tools for him. Let him feel that he is needed. Let him have that satisfaction. If you see the Maslow's theory of needs, it says a man cannot be satisfied if you don't have what we call the environmental factors right in your favor. If the place where you work is a very dirty environment, you don't have work tools, you are not regarded, you will not give him your best. So many other bad things will keep on coming into your mind. You want to begin to resort to self-help.
All right.
Dipping your hands into what is not there. My advice to government at all levels, both at the federal, at the state and local government levels, is to make sure that workers' entitlements are given to them. Do not allow anybody to come and depend on the rule of the thumb in disciplining civil servants. The Civil Service Commission is established by the Constitution specifically to be responsible for the promotion, the discipline, appointment of civil servants in line ministries. Those who work with the boards and parastatals have the structure that takes care of how they are sanctioned. But a situation where somebody can just come, maybe a minister comes and because he doesn't like the face of the director, he says, take this man out, send him to another place. You begin to destroy the system. You begin to cause disenchantment. And because of that, workers begin to underperform. The government needs to take care of all these things. Pay the entitlements when they are due. In fact, salaries should be the first line charge. Because a mistake most governments make. Workers, if you look at their population, they are really not much. We had a situation once where somebody said, after all civil servants, you are not more than 2%. Why do we spend so much resources on maintaining you? Forgetting the fact that there's something we call the multiplier effect.
Of course.
Those 2%, if it is true indeed that they are 2%, whatever you give to them is what rolls the economy of most states.
That's true.
And every civil servant is accountable for so many other people. In Nigeria, we are not, it's not just your nuclear family you take care of. So government should learn to treat civil servants as a very important partner in development. You can't really have development. Your policies as political leaders cannot be executed the way you want without having a determined and a focused civil service. How does the civil service become focused? Give them their dues. Simple.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, I actually wish we could go on and on and on. This is so interesting. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
A few days ago, the executive governor of Borno State visited the state secretariat and discovered that out of about 12,000 or so people there, only 3 were at work when he got there. This is one aspect. This too is corruption.
Yeah,
it is corruption. It is something that we need to look into. But I wouldn't. I will save that for our next discussion. Right now, I want to know what your final words are on the need to entrench transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption in the polity.
I think my final word would be that both the leadership, the political leadership, and those who are in the civil service should understand that they are both partners in progress. And therefore, they should open up more to each other.
Yeah.
A situation where in a ministry, a director and his team that are supposed to be responsible for a particular thing are sidelined, and only the commissioner and the permanent secretary does the work. It does not breed trust. And because that is not there, corruption comes in. Because whenever they have the opportunity, they will create sabotage. They will steal. And they will do so many other things. But I think there should be a cooperation. The civil servants should understand one thing. They are not there for themselves. They are there to serve the people through the political leadership. But the political leadership should also know that you cannot, those beautiful dreams, programs, and actions you have in mind, you can't really execute them without a very focused, committed, disciplined, and transparent civil service. It is now left for both to come together, to understand that it is a collective thing. Of course, the watchdogs should be there. There must be people who check on how funds are, how civil servants handle things. Because the problem is in a situation where you know you are not being monitored, there is a tendency for you to go overboard. Civil servants should not just be allowed to run amok and do whatever they want to do without any supervision. But those supervision should be according to laid down rules and regulations.
Thank you very much. Sir, I want to say I appreciate your presence here. It's been wonderful. As I am impressed, I believe my listeners and viewers too are impressed. So I want to believe that when next we have the opportunity to have you here, you will oblige us with your presence.
No problem, anytime.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
It's mine. Thank you.
Well, that is the much we can take on the program for this week. It's been wonderful. It's been nice. Let's do it again next week. Same time, same station. Until then, so long.